of all 4 or 5 of our streams are audio only.
Yeah. Wes, you might have one guy chiming in on the comments. So
Are you sharing it with somebody?
yeah, he keeps guy from work keeps wanting to know when we go live. He was
Okay.
on one time, but I don't think you saw his comments.
Oh, let me go check the stream from last week.
I don't he wasn't on last week.
Oh, okay. Well, then it
It
doesn't
was
matter.
it was several weeks ago
I
because
can't count that high.
I keep forgetting to tell him when we're going live. But JB keeps like going from himself to his name just popping up.
That's fine. I mean, it's an audio cast, right? So if anybody gets mad that the video quality is not up to par, hey, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, he's also like
somebody get
Yeah.
him a booster seat.
Well, I'm like, I'm doing I'm looking at the picture right now. So,
so SEC plus the 2 games I sent you.
yeah.
Oh, you get
And,
we got 2 other games.
Yeah, the um Crybaby coach versus Khaki Pants and
Oregon,
Oregon
Oregon State.
State.
Is
Yeah.
that, is that Civil War? Is that what they call it?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh man, it's been a
It's gonna be
minute.
a good game though.
It is. I almost picked that as my hatter.
Is that a is that big of a spread?
14.
Wow.
Yeah. Yepper.
It could happen, but I don't think it's gonna be that bad.
TCU and Oklahoma is intriguing.
Hmm.
Very interesting.
Pick one.
I mean, y'all go ahead and get started if y'all.
All right. Wes, you ready?
Whenever you are, man.
All
I'm always ready.
right. And we are live with another episode of SEC Tavern Talk. I am your co-host Rob. Not your co Wow. We're gonna edit this and start all over.
No, we're not. We're keeping it.
And we are live with another episode of SEC Tavern Talk. I'm your host Rob, joined today by my co-host Wes Newborn. What's up, buddy?
What's up? Roll Tide, go Blazers. As usual.
That's right. Uh, and we are joined also by our other co-host that has been on long time hiatus, uh, approved by HR. That'd be me. JB, what's going on, man?
What is going on, man? It's been a while, so ready to talk some football, even though it's not something that I've really paid much attention to recently, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right then. Well, off the top of the show, we're just gonna go ahead and throw out there, even though I did not read JB's last week on the show when we did picks, he and I both crushed our Hatter. West did
Nicely
not,
done.
so you know, sucks to be you.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, consistency over here. Consistently bad, but consistency.
We're all consistently bad. I think that's the first one I've ever gotten right. So maybe second. Uh, but here we are. Oh man.
Nicely
Wes,
done. Congrats, you two.
Wes, you want to jump in and recap for us?
Oh yeah, that close, down to the wire 66-10 win against the Chattanooga Mocs. I can't tell. Are they like moccasins like the snakes or like the Native American footwear. I never really understood that, and I couldn't see a mascot, so I just imagine all of the coaching staff walking around with leather moccasins. That's that's what happens up here in my head. But no, it was a good game. Avoided any major injuries. Milrow still looks great. Still throwing the ball around. He looks much better as a passer, and he's continuing to develop. I'm even hearing some people talking just the fact that he's even pretending to be in that conversation. And, Bama's rolling. It's 66 points anytime you do that, especially on senior day. It's a big deal. It's a nice little warm up for what's sure to be, believe it or not, I still believe is going to be a tough Iron Bowl this week coming up. But yeah, roll tide, keep it rolling.
All right, JB.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I was listening to it, and they the Hogs kept the game close there for a little while, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And they finally kind of blew the doors off towards the end. Um, I was more interested in the Auburn game. See, hearing about them lose because my mother-in-law was actually at that game, so it's just great. Which we'll talk about later. But yeah, the Hogs. I mean, they pulled out what they were supposed to do. They did not cover the 26.5 point spread, so I guess they didn't do everything they were supposed to do. But KJ got his 3 touchdown passes. I feel bad for the guy, man. He might be my all-time favorite Arkansas quarterback. It's between him and Matt Jones, and he has just been dealt a horrible hand this year with coming back for his senior season. He could have been so much better. He could have really improved his draft stock, but he got stuck with Dan Enos and his stupid play calling and not knowing how to run a system for him. So whatever, it is what it is. Maybe he'll show out in the combine.
Yeah, I knew people at that Auburn game too. And for those listening that weren't paying attention, Auburn lost 31-10 in New Mexico State. It's
Yeah, buddy.
sad, but funny. Sad but funny.
Mhm.
Hey, now they can't make fun of Bama for losing to Louisiana Monroe anymore.
No, they still can. They still can.
Well, Georgia people can for sure.
Not West Georgia.
Not West Georgia.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Georgia actually played a real team this week and dominated them. They beat them low down dirty snitches in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Inside that garbage workers convention.
It's that throw up orange.
It's that throw up orange, yeah. They won that throw up orange, and that throw up orange. Well, they were throwing up after that game because they lost bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't Tennessee get a touchdown on the very first play of the game and then get outscored 38-3 the rest of the way?
Yep.
Nicely
First
done.
play of the game, they ran a long run, and then Georgia's like, "No, you had your fun. You're done.
You're done here."
You're done here." But yeah, so the business looks good. Carson back looks as good as he can look.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: I am never questioning Kirby Smart's decision making ever again on a quarterback. I questioned him on Stetson, 2 national championships. Questioned him on Carson Beck. We're sitting at number 1, looking like the best team in the country. I'm done questioning him on anything. Just going to trust him blindly. But and now Carson's being discussed in the Heisman race, and I'm just like, all right, I'm here for it. I don't think he'll win, but the fact that he's even being discussed, I'll take it.
One
I
might
think.
say that one might say that Kirby is smarter than you are when it comes to those
Heyo.
decisions.
But but
Nice.
moving on, Ole Miss over UL Monroe, no shock there. Uh,
hmm
Mississippi State snooze fest win over Southern Miss. Texas A&M, who the heck cares? They won 38-10. Let's see. South Carolina narrowly beats Kentucky. That's about what we kind of expected the game to be.
Beamer ball is back.
LSU dominates Georgia State, and the um, top 1, 2 man for the Heisman absolutely dominates that game. What was it, 8 touchdowns he had?
That sounds about right.
Ridiculous. And
Yeah, it's
then
56 points. So yeah.
yeah, and then probably the best game of the week that no one thought was going to be that close. Missouri beats Florida at home 33-31. Best part about that, Florida thought they had them fourth down and 17, and he
Yeah.
throws it to
Good
Luther Burden right
grief.
in the middle of the field, and then they go down and kick a game-winning field goal with the thicker kicker. I mean, like
That was
that
very
was great.
pleasant.
Yes, it was enjoyable to watch Florida lose that way. Ah, yeah, that was great. And now Florida may not, more than likely, will not make a bowl. So laughable. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that's right. They got to beat Florida State this week if they're going to go to the postseason.
and the only chance they stand is the fact that Florida State lost their quarterback. But I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah. No, they would need the team bus to get lost.
Oh man, that's great. All right. Well, anything else to say on those games? I mean, there was not much to speak about this game this week as far
No,
as
I
the
think
recap.
based on what we're getting into, I think we're going to talk about some of the coaching ups and downs in the SEC. But I think a lot of those results are what we expect to see. I mean, it was pancake week. I mean, cupcake week
Nice.
for everybody except Auburn. Um,
No
I think
pancakes
that
for them.
yeah, no, you're stuck with dry biscuits.
Yeah. Nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, no, it's good and it's setting up for I think what's going to be a really fun rivalry week, not just in the SEC but across the country. Um, I mean, and we've talked about this before. I think aside from the opening weekend, uh, this is bar none my favorite week of college football. I mean, it's just fantastic. There's so many good rivalries, so many good games, and so much up in the air, whether it's battling for a bowl game, whether it's battling for in-state respect or jockeying for position in the playoff. There's so many good storylines going on. I'm loving it. Can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on. Let's talk about some coaches and kind of the future of the coaching carousel, um, and also the future potential successes or downfalls of coaches in the coming years. Wes, I know you prepared for this, so I'll throw it to you. What you think?
Well, as a joke, I was going to say that a coach of the year finalist group has to start with Jerry Kill after what he did at Auburn. He's the New Mexico State head coach. Was at Minnesota, and I really enjoyed watching him. Um, it was kind of sad to see him go. I think he had some health issues along the way. Glad to see him bounce back. But even though it started as a joke, I got to looking. This man has New Mexico State at 9-3. For perspective, New Mexico State as a college has been to 5 bowl games in its entire history.
9-3
He's
with
got
a win over Auburn.
Yeah, 9-3 with a win over Auburn. Prior to last year, they hadn't won more than 3 games since like 2016, 2017. It's insane how bad this program is.
So
Last year, year one, Jerry Kill takes them to a bowl game, on track, going to go for the second time in a row for only the second time in their program's history. And if they win this week and in the bowl game, it'll be their first 11-win season since 1960. Actually, their only 11-win season since 1960, second all time. Incredible historic job he's doing at New Mexico State.
so okay. What do you think he takes a better job after this year?
It's tough to say. He had some success at Minnesota, but I don't know what his health issues are like. If those are under control, then the stress and the rigors of a higher profile job might be in the cards for him. And I think he could be looking for it. Though at the same time, a guy like that who's been through what he's been through, he might be content to stay at a mid major, kind of like Larry Blakeney did at Troy. I know it's a different situation, but just kind of rode his coaching career out at the same lower level school and just enjoyed it and was good at it and made a name for himself. So I could see either one of those happening. I think probably the coach that's going to get the most looks. They lost to App State, but year one in FBS level. Now, granted, they haven't played they haven't played the most unreasonable schedule, but for any program coming in first year at this level to go undefeated through 10 games is an incredible feat. And so it's something that is going to get them a seat at the table, at least. You're on mute, Rob.
Who was that? You cut out.
Oh, Kurt Signetti at James Madison.
Oh, okay. That's who I
I got
figured when you said 10 win.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. Some system issues going on, but I've got some more on my list, but I'll yield some time so I don't take it all up.
JB, your thoughts on Sam Pittman staying?
Yeah, that's why I jumped on because I'll be honest, I kind of soured on him a little bit this year, but I kind of started souring on him when he actually hired Danny Yost to begin with because he was a disaster the first time and he was going to be a disaster this time. I just knew it, but he made the right choice and he fired him. My thing with him staying is I think it's the right call. He's got a $16 million buyout, which pales in comparison to Jimbo's that I know y'all talked about last week. But
I think we
at
talked
this
about it
point,
last year too.
yeah, it's true. At this point, though, I'm like, you know what? Just roll with him for another year. Let him get a good offensive coordinator hired in, and if we don't see any improvement, I mean, some significant improvement next year, then I think he should get canned. I've always said that most every coach should get 4 years. But I've also said that if their first year was COVID year, then they should probably get 5 because that was a disaster.
Yeah.
For recruiting, from a
So,
recruiting standpoint.
so
So
my question is, or my thought when you're going to put a guy on the hot seat, fire him, you gotta have some programs will come out, get rid of a guy, then they have no options for someone to hire. And I'm like, you have to have more than one guy as an option to hire before you go fire your other guy.
You would
Unless you're
think.
just gonna unless you're just gonna interim a guy for a year just so that you can if that's the case, sure. But like who is Arkansas going to go out and get this year if they fire Sam Pittman? Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, because especially in a year where A&M is looking for a coach, Arkansas doesn't
Mhm.
want to be in a battle with A&M over being a coach. They want to be in there when a coach is getting fired from a school or coming off of a really successful season as a coordinator or something, but that another high caliber program is not looking for those type coaches. So I think it would be better to wait a year personally. But also, like you said, you started in a COVID year. You made the wrong hiring decisions. Like, I agree. Some of that has to be taken into consideration. Simply just losing is not the only. You got to give a guy that opportunity. So I'm with you there, JT or JB.
JT.
Agreed. I'm gonna
I'm
hop off real quick, but I'll be back on in just a second.
All right.
uh, since we're in the SEC, I'm gonna turn some attention also to Shane Beamer. Right, this is a guy who's in his third year, hasn't had a winning record in SEC play, hasn't finished better than third in the East, and in in the division his second year and hit 9 wins, and that's something that Beamer hadn't gotten up to now in 3 years. It's been rough there, and as much as we like Beamer ball, it's it's a question worth asking because how long is South Carolina going to put up with subpar play?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't really know what the answer for South Carolina is. That's ever since the old ball coach left, it's been a hard position to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Spurrier did well there, but where was he not going to do well? Spurrier.
Yeah,
As much as I hate to say it because I can't stand him, like I respect him. I respect him on the like as an on-field coach. I just don't like him,
yeah.
but um, phenomenal coach.
Well, and also
Great
balance
recruiter.
that with the level of success that he had. Like South Carolina went to one SEC championship game that they lost. Was it 2010? I think it was. Got double-digit win seasons 3 years in a row. Never sniffed a BCS bowl because back in the BCS days before the playoff. Never was in the national title conversation. Um, so I mean, it seems like that's the ceiling, and you get a coach as great as Spurrier was. That's the best he could do at a place like that, and even he couldn't sustain it. Right? It was three
Well,
years, and I
and
think
I
he was
think
there like
South
6 or 7.
Carolina realizes that, I think South Carolina would be one of those programs similar to Kentucky that if you average 8, 9, 10 wins a season, they're probably going to be happy as
Yeah,
it compared to Georgia, Alabama, you know, the teams that are on top right now, like a South Carolina, Kentucky, they're going to be happy with 8, 10 wins a season.
yeah. Uh, but
I
I
mean,
mean, eight
obviously,
eight to ten, eight to
everybody
ten
wants
wins may not
more.
be realistic though. That's my point. 8 to 10 wins a season, year in and year out.
Right, but I'm saying your fan base is going to want that regardless. That's what they
Right.
want. They're going to expect at least that. But like the only school in the SEC that's not pushing for that hardcore is Vanderbilt because it's
Yeah.
Vanderbilt. Like their fans just realize that they're not gonna ever win the SEC. It is what it is. Their fans know that. But like everyone else, if they're not winning 10 or 11, most if they're not winning 10 or 11, and then you get a South Carolina, Kentucky is probably 8, 9. So, you know, um, but yeah, I don't know what you do there. I think it's a tough situation. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who do you think is going to replace Jimbo?
Oh, That's a good question because
To
I've
be honest, I think I've heard a couple different, theories whether they're gonna go all out and try to have their next successful coach, or they're just gonna get a guy to coach for a couple years and then go after somebody big. But right now, I'll be honest, Lance Leopold sounds like a really good decision to me. Look at what he's
I
done, Kansas of all places.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
see
that's the
them
name I
really,
was going to go with.
I could see them really, and I've heard rumblings that he is like in their top five candidates. And the thing is you're not going to have to pay him a Jimbo level salary to come there. You're just going to have to pay him more than he's making at Kansas.
True story.
And then if he succeeds on the field, then you give him more money.
Yeah.
But like to me, it's a relatively low risk, high reward potential type option. Um, I think that would, I think they would do well to go with something like that. Outside of that, I've been hearing rumblings about Dan Mullen. They are stupid if they go get Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen was like, well, they asked him about it. Well, I'm not ruling it out. He's happy with his cushy. I mean, I think he's still making money from Florida, and
Probably.
he's he's happy with his cushy studio job where you know nobody really talks about him too much because
Mhm.
he's still reeling from that we'll recruit during recruiting season line he put out. Like right now, nobody's saying too much negatively about him. They're just like, oh, okay, he's another analyst, but
Yeah.
he's getting paid, so he probably doesn't care, and he's got it easy right now. But I just sorry, not it wasn't Dan Mullen, that was Mississippi State. Sorry,
Well, no, I
Delmo.
mean I've seen some that posit him going to Texas A&M too, and I
Really,
think Mississippi State is the more likely landing spot for him. But I mean, to
if
be
he wants to go
fair,
back to coaching, that is.
yeah, that's the big if. Now they could try to swing for the fences again and get Urban Meyer to come back to coaching. Um, I mean, you laugh, but I mean it's happened before, right? I mean he left Florida because of health issues and was an analyst until Ohio State threw him a bunch of money. Yeah,
Health,
and
quote
yeah,
unquote, health issues.
yeah, heart issues. Man doesn't have a heart. The Grinch's heart was bigger than his. Anywho,
He also faked a heart attack, but
yeah, it's like A&M. Like you could say Lance Leopold would be a good hire, and I think that's true. I think another reasonable avenue is to get one of these mid-major coaching guys like a Kirk Signetti at James Madison or something like that, or um, like who am I thinking of? Dave Braun at Northwestern, done a good job. Not
what
going to
about
be
the
able.
what
Go
about the
ahead.
guy that replaced Freeze at Liberty?
Yeah, that's another good one.
I've
I
heard
forget
his
his
name
name.
tossed around.
Yeah, but with that comes the balance of do you want a guy who's shown sustained success,
Yeah,
right? Like the Liberty, James Madison. Those are fairly flash in the pan. They're not guys who have shown sustained
right.
progress like Lance Leopold, right? Bringing Kansas back from 2-10 season his first year to 6-7 or 6-6 going to a bowl game even though they lost it to now 7-4 going into the last week of the season, um, beating Texas, you know, last year I think it
Last
was,
year at
being
Texas, right?
competitive. Yeah, yeah, and generally being competitive in the Big 12. So that's a different um, situation there. Um, they could be like super humble and just go with a solid coordinator who, maybe with some previous head coaching experience that's ready to get back in it. Would not recommend Dan Enos, but stranger things have happened. Uh,
Kendall Briles, maybe.
yeah, Kendall Browse might be a good option to get back into coaching. Wouldn't be
But
as toxic.
I gotta say this, as the resident A&M hater, I'm crossing my fingers that they hire Chad Morris.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I know you
It would
love
be it would be grand.
that. What do we think of Freeze going forward?
I think he's fine. I think Auburn's
Oh
made
no, no,
so
no. I
many
don't mean
bad
as far as
decisions.
hot seat. I mean as far as just his future success. What does it look like?
I think he's proved that he could have success at this level. When he was at Ole Miss, and
Beaten.
he kind of had a downfall, but it wasn't because of coaching; it was because of his personal issues.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I'm not necessarily questioning him as his ability to coach, but there's more to success than just ability to coach, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, as a Bama fan, knowing that while he was at Ole Miss, beating Bama back to back years, some of the super rare in the Saban tenure. I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't have what it takes to find success at Auburn, because we've seen coaches do well at Auburn, even if they're flash in the pan years like Chiswick, like Malzahn in 2017, beating Bama and Georgia in the same year, two teams that competed for the national title. Now, does that mean he takes Auburn to a New Year's Day bowl game on a regular basis? That might be it. Does it mean he competes for a national title? It's possible. I think realistically, probably like we talked about before, with the 8 to 10 wins a season, uh, leaning more towards 9 or 10 wins a year. I think that's fairly reasonable for him to get to. Now the question is he going to be able to get there? Because Saban at Alabama, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, what's his face at LSU, Brian Kelly at LSU.
Plays Georgia every year, at least for now.
Yeah, plays Georgia every year. Um, it's going to be tough, and with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma coming in next year, doing away with divisions, some of those years may be a little better than others. He may find, the window may be 7 to 10 wins, and may have some down years, but
Well, and two, I think, can he continue this success with recruiting like he has this year? Now,
I think so.
again, it's not just his ability to like. It's just like he's got the class, but he's got to get them to sign. And then, which is coming, most of them will end up signing in December in the early signing day, and then some will at uh, the one in February. But like, um, I don't know. It's not so much is he a really good recruiter. It's can he compete against the best recruiters? You know, and that's
Yeah.
that's that's the thing in today's age. Kirby and Saban are going to have a top 5 class every year.
Mhm.
It's just going to happen. And then likely Ohio State's going to be in the top 5. Right now, Michigan is trending to stay in the top 5. And so then you got to battle all them. Then you got to, right now, Florida State's throwing out a lot of NIL stuff. Are you ready to throw out the NIL dollars and compete to get, because as we've seen, a top 10 class is impressive, but that top 5 versus that top 10 class, a lot of times can make a big difference between elite and really good.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Sumlin can tell you how easy it is to crap the bed with the top 10 class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jimbo with the number one all time class.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's the other thing is not just there's more than just recruiting. There's recruiting. There's developing a team culture and chemistry. There's developing that talent. Um, there's offensive defense coordinators. I mean, I
Mhm.
think coordinators are so undervalued
Yeah.
because if you get the wrong coordinators, like, okay, Saban is the best example of this.
Yep.
Look at when he's lost his best coordinators and then he can't find the quality ones that he needs to replace them. You see the it's not that he doesn't have the talent. He's got the talent every single year.
Hmm.
Every single year. But and he develops it. But if you don't have the X's and O's on both sides of the ball, that talent's not going to be able to play to its full potential. So it's not everybody wants to just throw it at the head coach, but the head coach can't do anything if he doesn't have the right coordinators. So there's just so many things that go into it, and a lot of people just say, "Oh well, you know, why can't he do well with the top class in the country?" It's like, well, because he didn't have the right people, or he didn't, do this or that. There's a number of things, and so many people are so singularly focused when they're talking about this stuff. And I think that's like we talked before. You have to talk about it with some nuance. And so it'll be interesting to see what Freeze can do. I think he's capable of doing a lot, but will he with what he has to go up against? I don't know. Auburn fans might have to pull back their expectations a little bit. They may not be able to be at that national championship level. Might have to be okay with that. I don't know. Just thought.
Yeah. And I think you're onto something there. As far as his assistants go, he's got two first year coordinators coaching under him um, that have had success elsewhere. So it's not that they can't do the job, but to your point, it's can they do the job at this level in this environment? Um, and I think it depends on what your measure for success is. And I think based on moves that Auburn has made, if they're smart, that measurement is probably 8 wins a year, finishing in the top half of the conference once we go to new divisions. If they're doing that consistently and then, every now and again hitting double digit wins, competing for a spot in the SEC championship game, playing on New Year's Day, maybe not in a New Year's Six bowl, but, a New Year's Day bowl. I think that's the level of success that'll at least keep the vultures and critics at bay in the short term. But long term, I think there's too many variables, but I think at some point the fans and the administration are going to be hungering for uh, getting to the level of 2013, 2010, 2004. They've seen top level success within living memory, within fairly recent memory.
Well,
And
and to that point though, if you lower your expectations in the short term, um, if you lower your expectations in the short term to a lower win total and things like that,
mhm,
while you have these new coordinators that are raw and young, one of two things can happen, or even both can. You can either have these coordinators figure it out, develop themselves
yeah,
and figure it out, and then elevate you further. Or once you see you have some success, you can sell your program to those better coordinators who can then come in and transfer you to that championship contending level. But the problem is And Tennessee fans are the worst with this. They have one good year and they think, oh, well, we're competing for national championship next year. It's like, no, that's not how this works. You
Yeah.
bring a coach in, he has to have time to build recruiting classes on top of recruiting classes. He has to get the right coordinators in there, and then he has to build a program. You they had one 10-win season. They had a really good quarterback and they had the right wide receivers. I told Tennessee fans this year was not going to be what last year was, and
Mhm.
it's not even going to be close because they don't have the same level talent at wide receiver or at quarterback. And everybody thought Joe Milton was going to be the next Hendon Hooker, just just plug and play. And I told him that's not the player he is. Um, and I've had this discussion with a number of Tennessee fans, and they're delusional. There's one that I talked to who agreed with me from the very beginning of the season. He didn't trust Joe Milton, and his expectations were tapered a little bit.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, I could see us doing really well, but I'm not expecting what we did last year. If their whole fan base would just live in that zone for now, they might be able to build it. That's no disrespect to Josh Heupel. I think he's doing a really good job for where he's at right now, as much as I hate to admit it. But fans want the immediate championship level success. Georgia fans can attest to this, how long it takes.
Yep.
Like even Kirby's first year, like Saban's first year was bad. Then Kirby comes in, increases it. We have a better year, and it continually gets better. But I mean, he started in 2016. His first championship was 2021. So, but Kirby's probably going to, a lot of coaches are probably not going to be contented in their first 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby, like Saban, is kind of an anomaly. So, I think fan bases just have to be patient, ride it out, not want to fire a coach at the after the first couple of years because he's not going 12-0 and then 15-0. Like
Well, yeah, and to be fair to fan bases like that, um, not specifically Tennessee, I don't want to be fair to them, but but
right,
there was a while where year two was huge. I mean, if I remember correctly, like Butch Davis at Miami, um, Bob Stoops at Oklahoma, um, Jim Tressel at Ohio State, Urban Meyer at Florida. Um, all four of those guys won a national championship their second year with the school. I mean, Saban didn't win the national championship, but went undefeated in the regular season and lost in the SEC championship. A game that would have gotten them to a national title game that year. Gene Chizik, I do believe, won the national championship his second year with Cam Newton transferring in. So we saw fairly regularly year two being sort of that benchmark. It's you got 1 year to kind of filter out the old guys, bring in some new pieces, plug in, and year two is when it should really take off. But to your point, even with that year two bump, a lot of those guys couldn't maintain the success. I mean, Urban Meyer did it for a couple of years and then he trailed off at Florida. Came back and did something similar with Ohio State, kind of trailed off. Gene Chizik famously was fired less than 2 full seasons after winning the national championship. Same thing with Coach O at LSU. And if you look at Josh Heupel at Tennessee, they went 7-6 his first year, 11-2 year two. Now they've taken a step back. They're 7-8 wins, maybe 9 with a bowl game. So the question is, are they going to be able to bounce back and step back up, or was year two kind of the pinnacle and they're falling into kind of that similar level of mediocrity that we've seen with so many teams, probably a slightly higher level than Of course, Vanderbilt, even Arkansas, unfortunately, but not up there with an Alabama, a Georgia, even an Ole Miss or an LSU.
Yeah. And I also think it's going to be increasingly harder to do not just the whole psych ear swap, but
Mhm.
also I think it's going to be increasingly harder to reach that extra level of success in the coming years because of the way that the game is going. Now, obviously, yes, you have the 12-team playoff, which in a sense, if you make it there, it's going to help some programs, but not as much as people might think. I think though the way that the conference realignments are going the bigger conferences,
Mhm.
I think is going to make it really a lot tougher to have that quick success or
Yeah.
even moderately quick success.
And potentially, to your point, easier to be patient with coaches, navigating a different conference landscape, in the SEC, not having divisions, having two additional teams that are typically above average to great on an annual basis. Then throw in the extra wrinkle with the transfer portal, right? There's still all kinds of things that can happen around transfer portals and limits and collective bargaining and things like that because college is becoming a semi-pro league, uh, unfortunately. But that's the reality of it. So there may be legal changes in how that works out. So there's all kinds of things going on. Bottom line, though, I think what's his face? We started talking about Hugh Freeze. I think he's probably safe for
What's his face works too.
yeah. Never forget old what's his face. But I think he's safe for the next couple of years, even losing to New Mexico State. I mean, for one, I think New Mexico State has experienced a historic resurgence as a program, and so just caught Auburn at a bad time as a coach in transition, a team in transition. So, they'll brush it off, take their lumps this week. Spoiler alert, they're going to lose, and regroup for next year and see how things go.
All right. Well, since JB isn't with us at the moment, um, let's just move on to picks.
Okay.
Um, Hatter SEC or non?
Non.
Same. I don't know what JB's is. Throw it at me.
Like I said, it's going to be wishful thinking, but Texas Tech going
That-
to Austin and the Longhorns, and
I was tempted, but I didn't go with that one.
I was also
obviously, that was mine as well.
Oh, JB's back.
yeah.
I'm just here for a second. I heard you saying something about Hatter, so I just jumped on real quick. Yeah.
If
Yeah, so
you
me and JB are like
you
minds this week.
are you able to send your picks if you're not going to be able to make them?
I already
I
did.
got him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're
Sweet.
good.
I sent all but the Hatter, but I wanted that to be a shocker, even though it's not really a shocker.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. I am going to take the Houston Cougs over Gus Malzahn and UC.
Very nice. I love it.
Yeah. Give me that game. All right.
So
Well,
all eyes on the Big 12 for the Hatters this week.
let's start with the non-SEC. Get that out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Oregon State first.
Okay.
And that is, what was that, 14 and a half?
Yeah, JB picked Oregon, but not to cover. And I honestly like that pick. I think Oregon State is a sneaky good team. They got one of, if not the best running back in the country, in Gordon. He's had some lumps. If Oregon can corral him, they can put the game away. But I think he's due for a big game, a rivalry game. I think he breaks out a little bit in Eugene and makes this closer than the spread would indicate. But Oregon and the Ducks still pull it out.
Yeah, and I'll agree to that as well. All right, next, number 2, Ohio State. At number 3, Michigan. Um, Michigan is favored by 3 at home, so basically it's an even game. Who does JB have?
JB's got Michigan to cover, and I'm going to not so fast him. I think with all of the nonsense going on with Michigan, I mean they're a solid team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they've got what it's going to take to beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State is still a solid team, a more complete team in some respect. So give me Ohio State to pull the upset on the road.
So I definitely think Michigan is better at quarterback and running back, but um, yeah, I'm gonna take Ohio State in this one, partially because of all the drama going on. I know they're acting like, oh well, we're doing fine without them. Yeah, you beat Penn State. Okay, Penn State's having coordinator issues, and their offense can't move the ball, so whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think they're distracted with all that nonsense, and I, I still like this game was already kind of like I go either way. Ohio State's lost the last two,
Mm-hmm.
um, so give me Ohio State to pull it up outright.
Yep.
And then, all right, let's go on to the SEC. We will start with the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Mississippi favored by 10. Who you got, Wes?
Um, JB and I are of the same mind here. He's got Ole Miss to win. Didn't say if they cover, so I'm guessing that he says Ole Miss is not going to cover. I think they do. I think Mississippi State, with all the ups and downs, it's not going to be pretty. I think Ole Miss in some ways looking for style points, stay in the top 12, maybe sneak into the top 10, and get a New Year's Six bowl bid. So yeah, I think they're playing for more than just the rivalry this week, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. All right. Next, we'll go to the fake rivalry game.
Mm.
Missouri at Arkansas. Missouri is favored by 9. I already know JB is picking Arkansas outright.
Yep.
So, who you got, Wes?
Yeah, I think Missouri is just too solid a team. I know anything can happen in rivalry weeks, but no, not this one. Missouri is another one of those teams that's vying for a spot in a New Year's Six bowl game, and this would not be a good loss. And they're going to win it, and they're going to. I will say they don't cover.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with both of you. I think Missouri wins this game big.
It's possible. It's
I'm
possible.
going to say they win by 2 to 3 touchdowns. I Arkansas just does not have it this year, and Missouri is on a tear. Like they hung with Georgia for a while, which is saying something. Uh, in Athens, and then just pile drove Tennessee into the ground. Like,
Can you imagine if they had not self-destructed on that last drive against LSU
yeah,
for the
I
last
know.
couple of drives?
You're talking about a team that is 10-1 right now, and
With the only loss being a close loss to the number one team in the country. They might be ranked ahead of Alabama right now if that was the case, honestly.
honestly, I would have put them above Alabama if personally, if they had beaten LSU. Because think about it, they probably would have started ahead of Alabama in the rankings,
Mm-hmm.
had they not lost to LSU, because when they played Georgia, they probably would have been, they might have even been in the top five because they would have been undefeated.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Or higher, because it would have been two undefeated teams playing each other.
Yeah, that would have
And
been incredible.
they were already what, 9, 10, 11 when they played Georgia.
Yeah.
So, um, somewhere in that range. So, yeah, an undefeated team, they would have probably been at least in the top five. Then they probably would have dropped to 6 or 7, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's crazy to think about. All right, let's go. Um, let's do Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I know you wish you could pick this as your hatter. Um, I mean, uh, Tennessee wins, and I'll say they cover the spread. I mean, they're not going to lose to Vanderbilt.
Well, JB agrees with you halfway. He says Tennessee wins but doesn't cover. Um, I'm going to keep the streak alive, man. I can't pick Tennessee to win. Give me Vandy to pull the upset, even though they're not my hatter. Dandy Vandy ruining Tennessee's already ruined season.
Oh, that would be amazing. Um, Nothing would make me happier this week. All right. A&M on the road at LSU. The noon kick. LSU is favored by 11.5. Who you
JB's
got,
got
JB?
LSU. Yeah, JB's JB's got LSU to win it. Probably not by the spread based on what he said. I think LSU wins and covers. I think A&M is, for all intents and purposes, right now a wreck. Um,
Yep.
if it was a night game, I think it would be even uglier than it's going to be. But I think A&M has just had such a rough go of it, and I hate it for them. Not really, but it is what it is. And LSU is another one of those teams that's playing for something. If some teams lose above them, maybe they sneak into a New Year's Six bowl game, even with 3 losses. So they've got some style points. They've got the probably number one, number two Heisman Trophy candidate right now. So I expect them to come out guns blazing.
All right. Yep. I agree. I agree with you. All right. Next, let's go to clean old fashioned hate. Georgia at Tech. Georgia is favored by 24 on the road. JB, who you got?
He's got UGA and the points, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. Uh,
Yeah.
we're all gonna just hate to watch it, except for you. Probably you're gonna love it, but we're gonna see that score and we're gonna flip the channel to something else because it's not gonna be pretty. And Georgia's gonna cover badly.
I'll say this. Buster Faulkner has got Tech's offense.
Start that over.
Buster Faulkner has got Tech's offense doing very well this year, and I don't know how much of the head coach has to play into their gameplay this year, but Tech from last year to this year, much better team. Got Haynes King doing well. I mean, I don't know why he went to Tech of all places, because he's a really talented quarterback. Um, but all that said, it's not going to be a pretty game. Um, they're they're not good enough right now. They just don't have the dudes to compete with Georgia, and Georgia's just on a mission to prove that they're ready to run over anybody. And yeah, you could say it's Thanksgiving. Are some of the guys going to eat too much? Are they going to, I think, I don't think it's going to play into it. I see
Mhm.
Georgia winning and winning big. So Give me them and I'll lay the points. All right, next let's go Florida State at Florida. Florida State is a 6.5 point favorite. I'm gonna go ahead and say Florida wins and covers the spread. I don't care who's quarterback. Florida ain't winning this game.
Oh, so Florida State wins and covers the spread. You
Yeah.
said Florida.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah,
should know what I mean.
I'm gonna not so fast you with the force of two guys because JB and I both say Florida's gonna win outright. It's chalk it up to the majesty of rivalry week. I think we both think Florida State's playoff hopes die in the swamp.
Well, I think they die because they don't have their starting quarterback anymore. I think the playoff committee has already shown that they're punishing them for having a hurt quarterback. But
Well, on that point, between Michigan and Ohio State, if Florida State finishes undefeated and wins the ACC, the loser of that game drops behind Florida State.
maybe.
A one loss Big Ten team that doesn't even play for the conference title would not be ranked above an undefeated conference champion, ACC
Here's
champion.
something I heard, and it makes so much sense. This is the last year of the 14 playoff, which means the committee can do whatever the heck they want. Like it's been true in the past, but especially this year, they can put whoever they want in there
Yeah.
because it's the last year, so they're just like, who cares? So they're gonna put who they want in there regardless. And I see them moving. Why would you have moved Washington into fourth this week? If Why would you punish Florida State right now unless it was for them losing their quarterback? That's just my thought. It may be that they thought Washington's win was enough to move them
That's what I
over.
think.
Could have been.
Yeah, who'd they play? Utah
No, they played
or,
Oregon State, right?
or Oregon State? Yeah. Another solid in conference team as opposed to the University of North Alabama.
Mhm. Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
either way, Florida State goes down.
Next, let's go to Kentucky. Let's go to the Governor's Cup. Kentucky at Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville is a 7.5 point favorite. I'm gonna go ahead and get my pick out of the way. As much as this pains me, give me Louisville and the points. Can't
Mm.
believe I'm making this pick, but I always try to be objective with my picks. Kentucky has just fallen off, and Louisville has looked good this year. And I think Louisville, it's only a 7.5 point spread. So I'm going to take Louisville in the points. Who
Well,
y'all got?
JB's going to agree with you halfway. He says Louisville wins, but not by the points. I'm going to full on not so fast you. Hadn't been able to do that all season, just about. So I'm using them all now. I'm catching up. Um, I think, for one, just across the board, as you can probably tell, I love the SEC and these SEC ACC rivalries. Um, but this is just a prime example of one where I think the SEC is going to be able to sneak up on the ACC. Louisville's got their mind set on the ACC championship. I think Kentucky sneaks up on them, runs over them with Ray Davis, and not going to be a big blowout, or not going to be a blowout, but it's going to be a solid win on the road, and another ACC foes' potential playoff hopes die.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right. But
I
all
am.
right.
Don't worry.
The one you probably thought was going to be picked last is not just because there's. Let's go to the Iron Bowl next.
Yep.
And um, Alabama has to travel to Auburn. They're favored by 14 on the road. Let's go with JB first.
He says Bama covers.
Okay. And then I'll go ahead and I will say the same. I just don't think Auburn has it there yet. And I and some are saying that this is a trap game for Bama, and that some are even making jokes that Auburn just is was trying to lay a trap by losing to New Mexico State.
No,
No,
that's dumb.
no, that's dumb.
That
Not the
theory
case.
doesn't hold water.
No. So give me Alabama the points, and then Wes, I'll throw it to you.
I think Bama's going to win, but I'm going to say they don't cover, and here's why. I think Saban as and the coaching staff are actually looking ahead to Georgia. They know that there's an SEC championship coming. I think they know they can beat Auburn on the road, and I think there's going to be a desire to get sufficiently ahead of Auburn and then to start resting people, to start cycling in some depth to play and use that as an opportunity to prepare, much like they did with Chattanooga. But that said, I think Auburn has a sneaky good defense, and Bama has shown at times to be vulnerable. So I think a lot of this game is going to be more like a coaching opportunity. Not that Saban's going to, they're going to try to keep it close or they're going to try to formulate adversity. I think Bama gets ahead and probably wins by 10, 11 points.
All right. Fair enough. And then finally, I wanted to pick this one last because I like the matchup. Clemson travels to South Carolina. What's the name of this one again? The
Palmetto Bowl.
Palmetto Bowl. That's right. Clemson is a 7.5 point favorite on the road. Who's JB got?
JB says that Clemson covers.
How about you?
I say the South Carolina wins outright. I got an aunt that's and an uncle that are both graduates of South Carolina. I think this is going to be a solid win for Beamer and company. Get them to a bowl game, knock Clemson back out of the rankings. I think that would be a huge finish and back-to-back wins over your hated in-state rival. Let's go Gamecocks.
Who do you think I'm picking?
Probably Clemson.
Unfortunately, this
Yeah.
is another one that's painful. Because anyone who's listened on here knows I despise Clemson, and
It's the orange, really.
I like Shane Beamer, but the orange, yes, but Georgia has a historical rivalry with Clemson.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me, I just don't think South Carolina has it right now. And Clemson doesn't have much, but I think they have enough to get this done. So give me Clemson. And because the spread is so small, I will lay the points. I'll say they cover. Not happy about it. Not happy about picking them or Louisville, but I try to go with my gut and not my heart on my picks, and that's what I'm doing. So I picked South Carolina last year, and I'm glad I did. But I don't think they're going to win 2 years in a row. So
All right. You can be
that's
wrong
that.
if you want to.
All right, Ashton. Respect your right to be wrong.
That's right.
Maybe the best thing he ever said. I love that. But you got anything else?
Man, I just want to savor this. I want to savor this weekend like Thanksgiving dinner. I love this weekend. I love all the football spread out and the way conference realignment has been going. I think in a lot of ways, rivalry weekend is losing some of the magic it used to have. Right, we used to have the Golden Boot the day after Thanksgiving. We used to have Texas A&M on Thanksgiving Day. Maybe we can get that back, but let's enjoy it while we got it. Let's be thankful, and as Christians, as Reformed Christians, we ought to be thankful for so many things every day of the year. So let's use this Thanksgiving holiday as an opportunity to be grateful for the blessings that we have, for our salvation, for our brotherhood, for our fellowship, for this game we all love so much, and this chance and the technology to come together and talk about it and have some fun.
Amen to that. And I would ask if JB has anything to follow up with on that, but he is it's an empty chair right now. And how do you follow that? So
That's
right. Well, all right. It's a good show, man. We talked about a
Absolutely.
lot and I enjoyed it. So, but until next time, just remember, brothers, to let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. And we'll see you in the tavern.
All right, let me look for the wave. My signal.